Picture someone in your life who seems absolutely flawless. You know the type, right? They're charming, they're persuasive, and they somehow always know exactly what to say to make you feel like the most special person in the room. But over time, they leave a trail of just pure, unapologetic emotional destruction in their wake. To understand how someone so seemingly perfect could be so incredibly destructive, we're diving into the groundbreaking insights from Dr. Robert Hare's book, Without Conscience.
It leaves you questioning your own sanity, honestly. Now, I want you to imagine trying to navigate a relationship, a workplace, or even a tricky family dynamic with a person who is completely biologically devoid of guilt or empathy. They literally don't lose a single wink of sleep over hurting you, not a twinge of regret. What if the person sitting across from you right now literally lacks a conscience? This isn't some crazy plot from a psychological thriller. It's a terrifying, everyday reality that so many of us face without even realizing it.
Because, as Dr. Hare's research brilliantly reveals, true psychopaths aren't just the serial killers you see in Hollywood movies. No, they're predators hiding right in plain sight. They are individuals who charm, lie, and manipulate their way through daily life. Dr. Hare spent decades studying the absolute darkest corners of human psychology, and his findings are going to permanently transform how you see the people around you.
Section 1. The Hidden Predator, Hiding in Plain Sight.
So the crucial realization here is that these individuals know the exact difference between right and wrong. They get it. But the rules of society that apply to you and me, in their minds, those rules just do not apply to them. You might be thinking, okay, well, people capable of such cold calculation must be incredibly rare. But according to peer-reviewed research, a chilling 1% of the general population actually fits this hidden predatory profile. 1%. That means millions of people worldwide. You have almost certainly crossed paths with one, worked with one, or, maybe even dated one.
And if we look at prison populations, that number absolutely skyrockets to 25%. Think about that. They make up a tiny fraction of our overall society, yet they leave a massively disproportionate trail of crime, violence, and emotional wreckage behind them. But remember the scariest part. The vast majority of psychopaths aren't behind bars. They're out here, living right alongside us.
Section 2. The Empathy Void. The Mask of Sanity.
For the longest time, psychology and the legal system really struggled to define exactly what makes these individuals so uniquely dangerous, especially since they're often perfectly rational and totally aware of reality. You see, there's a profound difference between standard antisocial behavior and the utter emotional void of true psychopathy. Antisocial personality disorder focuses mainly on behavioral symptoms, stuff like rule-breaking, criminality, and impulsiveness. But true psychopathy, that goes so much deeper into these profound affective deficits. It's entirely possible to be a criminal without being a psychopath, and terrifyingly, you can be a psychopath without ever breaking a single formal law.
By defining psychopathy through Hare's diagnostic framework, we can finally put a name to that profound, crazy-making manipulation you might have experienced firsthand. It's a socially devastating personality disorder. We're talking about sheer egocentricity, endless manipulativeness, and just an absolute void right where human empathy is supposed to be. Once you actually see this exact constellation of traits, it's like a light switch flips. The mask of sanity slips, and you realize exactly what kind of person you are dealing with.
Section 3. Inside the predatory brain. Wiring for manipulation.
But this brings up a huge question. If their minds are just wired differently, how on earth do they manage to fake human emotions so perfectly? How do they know exactly when to shed a tear, when to act outraged, or when to play the poor victim if they don't actually feel any of those things? Well, modern neuroscience shows us that the psychopathic brain processes human emotion not as something to be felt, but as cold, hard data to be exploited. Think about it. When you feel guilt, you experience deep remorse. The psychopath, they feel nothing. There is zero internal punishment. When you feel fear, you get anxious. The psychopath is literally fearless, allowing for this calm, predatory calculation. And the big one, empathy. Where you would naturally mirror someone else's pain, a psychopath's brain just processes your emotion as leverage. They aren't feeling your sadness. They are analyzing it to figure out how to use it against you.
Section 4. The Dark Triad. A dangerous combination.
Now, this predatory wiring doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It actually forms what psychologists call the dark triad, this incredibly toxic intersection of traits that creates an absolute master of social engineering and psychological manipulation. First, you have psychopathy, giving them that chilling lack of empathy and guilt. Then you mix in narcissism, which brings extreme grandiosity and a massive ego to the table. And finally, Machiavellianism, basically the strategic, highly calculated manipulation of other people for personal gain. When these three specific traits converge, you're looking at someone who genuinely believes they are superior, feels absolutely no remorse for using you, and has the cold, strategic patience to play the long game.
Section 5. Predators in the boardroom. Corporate psychopaths.
Okay, here's where this explainer gets truly unsettling. You'd probably think society would naturally filter these kinds of people out, right? But the terrifying truth is that in certain environments, they're actually celebrated. Modern research highlights this huge rise of the corporate psychopath. These are individuals who use their undeniable charm and utter ruthlessness not to commit violent street crimes, but to aggressively climb the corporate ladder. In a fast-paced business environment that heavily prizes extreme risk-taking, cold decision-making, and pure charisma, the psychopath doesn't just survive, they thrive. On paper, they look like incredible leadership material, but underneath, they are entirely hollow.
And their tactical progression is just chillingly predictable. Watch how they infiltrate a workplace, secure their power, and systematically destroy employee well-being without a second thought. Step 1, they turn on that superficial charm, laser targeting the boss and key decision-makers. Step 2, they manipulate and pit coworkers against each other, creating absolute chaos while quietly consolidating their own power. And Step 3, once a colleague is no longer useful to them, they just abandon the victim and seamlessly move on to the next target. They leave this massive wake of burned-out, psychologically destroyed employees right behind them.
Section 6. A survival guide. Protecting yourself.
So if these hidden predators are literally walking among us, in our offices, and maybe even in our homes, how do you defend yourself? How do you handle someone who plays by a completely different set of biological and moral rules? Well, by understanding Dr. Hare's research, you can finally identify their tactics and put up a shield for your own psychological health. First up, you've got to look past the superficial charm. Remember, it's just a mask. Second, pay attention strictly to their actions because to them, words are just cheap, empty tools. Third, notice the absolute lack of genuine remorse when they hurt someone. Sure, they might fake a really convincing apology, but the behavior never actually changes. Fourth, recognize the gaslighting and the constant blame shifting. And finally, you have to set rigid, uncompromising boundaries. Listen, psychopaths prey on the polite and the forgiving. Do not offer them your empathy, because they will absolutely just use it as a weapon against you.
So I have to ask, will you ever look at that incredibly charming, perfectly polished person the same way again? Or will you be watching closely, just waiting for the mask to slip? If this explainer changed your perspective today, be sure to like the video and subscribe to Beyond the Pages. And please, share this with someone who really needs to see it, because understanding is the very first step to protection. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What realization today completely changed the way you see someone from your past? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.